I have said repeatedly in the last few weeks and months that I think the proportionality of Israel's response is now unacceptable, and particularly since they decided to go into Rafah, a refugee camp that they set up, to then target Hamas in the middle of a refugee camp where you're bound to kill so many.
To target
process,
Hamas,
but I'm just curious.
Who's hiding in a refugee camp is bad. Did you catch that?
You're hiding, boy. You're hiding.
All right.
Isn't that crazy? Like, what is Pierce saying? That if Hamas goes and hides among the refugees, you just say, okay, free pass. Now you're good. We're good. We're good. We'll head back to Israel. You went to the refugee camp, so we can't get you there. We've talked about this before. Israel wants to send a message. If you go and kill a bunch of people, you're a terrorist. We're going to hunt you down and find you. Doesn't matter where you hide. You could go to the moon. We're going to go to the moon and find you. That's probably the only message that they'll get.
I want to clarify, by the way, what refugee camp means. When somebody mentions refugee camp in Gaza, people often think that we're speaking of a bunch of tents put together with, no electricity, no buildings, people just, staying there, sleeping on the ground in tents and so on. That's not true. In Gaza, refugee camp, just like genocide, has a very different meaning and does not really fit the description of what you call a refugee camp anywhere else in the world. Here is a picture of the Nusayrat refugee camp, for example. You may have recently heard of this. This refugee camp was attacked by Israeli forces when they went in to rescue 4 hostages that were held here. It was the Nusayrat refugee camp. Let's zoom in here. Is this really what people think of when they hear refugee camp? One comment was funny. It said, it looks better than Detroit. And
it does. When people are thinking of a refugee camp, they're thinking of a big open space with a bunch of tents that are set up for shelter for people. They're not thinking of a giant city.
This place is a city with a very large population, a city that has grocery stores, entertainment, malls or supermarkets. It has car shops. You can buy jewelry. There are different restaurants, all kinds of different things that are happening here. It is only called a refugee camp because it was initially created as a settlement to house certain people who lived in regions that are now under Israeli control, that are now part of Israel. Beersheba, for example. There were people who were living in Beersheba who fled to this region and settled here temporarily when the Arabs, the surrounding Arab nations, attacked and invaded Israel in order to destroy Israel. The idea was that after the war, after everything is over, these people would then go back and live in Beersheba forever, ideally after Israel is completely destroyed. To this day, they are still internationally called refugees just because of that. Because these people, mostly descendants of these people, live here and are constantly promised that one day they will go and take over places that are currently part of Israel, and they will destroy Israel. They will go there and live there. They're being given this empty promise, not only by the Palestinian leadership, not only by Hamas, also by the United Nations and by many nations around the world. They are given this empty promise that they are not permanently here in this major city, but that they are refugees who will one day, after Israel is destroyed or pushed back, live in what is now Israel. That's the entire reason why this is called a refugee camp. Calling it a refugee camp just implies that Israel has the obligation to retreat or be non-existent and one day just give a bunch of land to all of these people who at some point try to destroy Israel. That's it. The West has also been contributing to the continuation of these wars. If they simply acknowledge that these people will not one day in the future go and live in Beersheba, for example, which is now a prosperous, great part of Israel, that's long in the past.